What's going on, everybody? And welcome back to another episode of the BSP Podcast. It's been a minute, but man, I'm back. And guess what else is back? Football is back, and it is back in a big way. The games this Sunday were absolutely insane. Insane. Especially the Philadelphia Eagles versus the Detroit Lions. The Eagles come out, oh my God, with a win, 38-35. They don't cover the 4.5. Or they might even got the 5.5 before the game. Oh my God, they blew a 14-point lead. They held on at the very end. A win's a win. A win is a win. I want to thank everybody for tuning in to another episode. I know it's been a couple weeks, been out grinding. You see, I got my Fanatic staff shirt on, was hanging out today at the pregame show for the Fanatic. It was a lot of fun. On the Pine in Huntington Valley. It was a really cool spot. I had a good time with the morning show for the Fanatic, hanging out with Jamie, Bob, and the rest of the boys, Devon and Pat. But yeah, I mean, the game in itself, as I was working a little bit during the game, I watched bits and pieces of it, but I finally got to sit down and watch it, the whole thing in its totality, and got to watch the end of the game live, which is great. It's never easy. It's never easy with Philadelphia sports. We've realized that. I mean, obviously, if you've been, following me, just watching Philadelphia sports, it's never easy. We've learned that with the Phillies this year, that they can never hold a lead. The Eagles have always gone and given us roller coaster rides, and you thinking, all right, we get out to a big league 21-7. Let's take advantage of this. You get a pick six, which my dad called, by the way. Shout out. Go check out my Twitter. Make sure you follow me on everything at Brendan Petrilli on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and the like. But man, he called it. I'll give it to him. You get out and you're like, all right, Eagles are winning the Super Bowl. Rock and rolling. They can't be stopped through three quarters. Offense is clicking. Bang, bang. 4 different rushing touchdowns by 4 different players. Hurts, Scott, Gainwell, Miles Sanders. Moving the ball up and down the field. A.J. Brown, 150-plus yards. Goddard gets about 50-plus himself. Also, moving the ball up and down the field. Jalen Hurts is using his legs, making good throws, making bad throws. But they were just straight up dominating through 3 quarters. And literally, you're sitting there, you're like, all right, 4th quarter, got this. Lions are hanging in there a little bit. Your defense was able to come up and make a bunch of stops after you gave up that first touchdown of the game, where they just went down the field and ran the ball. They were able to shut down Swift a little bit, but then Goff kind of got in a rhythm after the pick six. You stopped bringing pressure. The linebackers weren't picking up guys when they were coming out of the backfield, so Goff was able to have time just to, what a good quarterback does. You see the pressure, throw it where it's coming, because it's going to be open behind it. And they were picking them apart, and that's big because of Jonathan Gannon. You got the talent now. It's all over the place. You saw it. You got to scheme it now. You can't just bring guys random left and right. You got to outthink their offense. And Dan Campbell and Deuce Staley out-thought the Eagles in that 4th quarter. The Eagles went and prevent. They on offense and defense. They stopped throwing the ball down the field. They stopped rolling out Hurts play action passes. Everything that was working those first couple quarters, they just stopped. They're like, all right, we'll just get through the rest of the game here. We're up 17 points. We'll cruise to a victory here. No. Not this Dan Campbell team. The NFL is never a given, no matter how many points you're up. Especially them. They're going to bite your kneecaps and bite the other one on their way back up, And that's what they did. They fought. They got back in it. And you're able to, Nick Sirianni, big balls on him there. Going for it on 4th and 1. Hurts able to get that final push to seal it on 4th and 1 to get the first down and finish out the game. Now, before we get into a little bit more, everybody make sure you click that subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, follow button on Spotify, Apple, wherever you're listening to the podcast version. Make sure you go check out the YouTube page at Brendan Petrilli. Before we get in a little bit more, I want to apologize. I haven't been posting the past couple weeks, been grinding. I want to make sure you go and check out my new podcast, old podcast, but we're bringing it back with my buddy Harry Heaps and I, Cold One Conversations on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description down below. It's going to be more of the whole NFL, MLB, NBA than just Philadelphia sports, where that's what I'm going to keep doing on this one every Monday. Give you a reaction probably next Tuesday because the Eagles are Monday night. Well, I'm working the game, so we'll see. But so make sure you stay tuned, keep following, put the bell on for BSP Podcast, but also make sure you go check out Cold One Conversations. Follow Harry at Harry Heaps on Instagram because we're posting a lot of awesome content there. We work together at WQSU at Susquehanna. Harry's one of my best friends from Susquehanna, covering sports with him there. Passed the baton to him for the sports director after I graduated. He did a great job. Now Harry's graduated. We're both out in the workforce trying to grind, make content, be the next big thing, shoot for the stars. And I think our first episode, it was a long one for sure. But there was a lot of great things. We have great chemistry, I think. But make sure you comment below what kind of stuff you want to see from the two of us, from myself, moving forward throughout the rest of this Eagles season. And Philly's making a playoff rush here too. Sweep the Nationals this past weekend. Keep it moving. Playing bad baseball teams, you got to capitalize. Bounce back from that Giants series. That was an absolute joke and pathetic. But like I said, it's never easy with Philadelphia sports. Eagles proved that once again. But there was a lot of good things in there. A.J. Brown's that dude. He is that guy. It is nice to have a number one wide receiver again. Just get the ball in his hands and let him do his thing. Even that one throw by Jalen Hurts going to the half to him, throw it up there. Give him a shot. He'll go and get it. He'll make plays. He'll catch it one hand with the guy draped on him. He'll catch the ball, break 2 tackles, dive for a first down. Every time he caught a ball, it seemed like he's breaking a tackle and he's getting an extra 5-6 yards. It's fun to watch. The first dominant receiver you've had since probably T.O. Macklin and Deshaun, they were very good wide receivers, but they weren't dominant. And that's what A.J. Brown is. Now, you could have 2 of those guys. But Devontae Smith struggled today. I think he had 2 targets. One was called back. He had a good route, but it was a holding call. Another one he dropped at the very beginning of the game. And they just kind of stayed away from him a little bit. Now, whether it's just because Hurts and Brown have such a great connection together that, what you saw coming into the offseason, why they went and got AJ, or the quarterback just might not be able to make those throws to him. We'll see. Obviously, it's early. Jalen, my cousin Holden, who's been on multiple times in the podcast, he's texting, Brendan says Jalen Hurts can't throw the ball down the field. Guess what? He can't. He couldn't. Sorry. He couldn't before. And that's one of the things I wanted to see him grow throughout the season. That's the way the Eagles are going to evolve into a Super Bowl contenders, is if you can make those throws to A.J. Brown down the field. Put the ball in a spot for just him to go get it. And he made improvements, but there was also a lot of bad. A lot of checkdowns, going into that, after that play to A.J. Brown, throwing one at Kenny Gainwell's feet, where, I'm listening to the radio on my way back from the show, and Mike Quick's just ripping into Jalen. He's like, you got to lead him there. That's an easy touchdown. I really didn't get to see it, so I'm taking Mike Quick's word for it. But yeah, after watching a highlight of it, throws it at his feet. All you got to do is put it out in front of him, let him run right into the end zone. Maybe you got a linebacker there, he might hit him, but he can stretch for the pylon. A lot of other throws, he's just kind of short-arming it, being a little too fine with it. Those are the things that we'll have to see as he finds a balance throughout the season, finding guys like Devontae, finding guys like Quez Watkins. Both had 0 catches. But that's what makes this offense so exciting. It makes you look forward to it every weekend because you have guys like A.J. Brown and Dallas Goedert that can get you 150 yards plus and be physical after the catch, while these other guys aren't doing anything. They'll all have their games. The running game, I haven't even gotten to that yet, but we will in a second. You have all these different weapons that this guy will have a game this time, and then it'll be the Quez Watkins game. And it might be the Zach Pascal game, where he gets 50 catches and a touchdown, 50 yards and a touchdown. Might be the Dallas Goedert game where he gets 100 plus yards. The Devontae Smith game. There's plenty of opportunity throughout this passing offense now. Jalen Hurts showed putting up 38 points. All 4 touchdowns on the ground plus the pick 6, but able to move the ball. Now we got to do it consistently. We got to stop these screens. These wide receiver screens suck. Enough. That was one of the biggest things why they struggled in the fourth quarter. And even the very first drive for the Eagles, all the offensive linemen are running out to do a screen, and Aiden Hutchinson and the other guys are flying at Jalen Hurts. Enough. Yeah, it'll work once in a while, but ground and pound. Give Hurts time. Let him throw the ball. Get it to the guys. Wide receiver screens suck. They suck. They didn't work last year. They're not going to work this year. Enough. Done with it, Nick. Or Shane Steichen, I guess, who's calling the plays. Do what works. What works? Slants, out routes, post routes. Get the ball into your playmakers' hands. Let them make a play. Short yardage. Keep it easy on Jalen. Because these guys can make plays now for you. You don't got to do this bullshit. Get it into speed get blockers out in front of them. No, let them do it themselves because they can. And let this offensive line go downhill, not east-west. Go north-south. North-south, because that's what made this team dominant in those middle quarters. The end of the first, all the way through the third. There's Mailata and Kelsey, Johnson, Dickerson, Sayamalu going up the field, blocking, running the ball. Giving Hurts, Miles Sanders, Boston Scott, Kenny Gainwell, all the holes to run through. And they capitalized. And then they stopped. Why? Who knows? But that's what's going to be exciting is because you have all these opportunities to mesh your offense and make it work. Now it's going to be on them, the coaches, to make it work. It's going to be on Jalen Hurts to make the plays. But I'm excited. A lot of good, a lot of bad. A lot of bad on the defense because you have that talent on the other side. If you listen to my short, that we posted on the Cold One Conversations, all the guys you went out and got on that defense, all the talent. You got the guys. You got to make it work. You got to make the pressure. You got to draw up the pressure. If the 4 of them aren't getting home, if they're getting the ball out fast, you got to jam the receivers. Don't let them get a free release off the line when they are bringing an extra blitzer, they aren't getting the free release so he can just get it out quick. Make them earn it getting off the line because that's what you were doing in those middle quarters where Jared Goff was so uncomfortable that you literally knew a drive beforehand that a pick was coming and then maybe it was taking it to the house. So, there's plenty of good that is still there. CJ Gardner-Johnson, I think, had a solid game. They weren't getting beat over the top, which is good. You weren't getting burned. There was a lot of underneath. It was the rushing attack with DeAndre Swift. They were getting holes, and they were hitting them. Is it a little scary that you're letting Jared Goff pick you apart and it's, not a Herbert Mahomes or the likes of better quarterbacks? A little bit. But there's room there. There's the talent there. And there's the fact that this is the first real game that they played it is the first real game that they played all year, but the first real contact. Only 6 snaps in the preseason for all the starters, at least on the offense, and most of the defenders too. They got that punch, that first hit out of the way. They responded after the first drive. They took their foot off the pedal. No more taking their foot off the pedal. They got to go Doug Peterson 2017. Run it up on these clowns. Dance. Do the electric slide on them. They had the opportunity to, but they let the foot off the pedal and survived for a 38-35 win. But it was exciting. And all the other NFL games were super exciting. As Harry and I will get into on Cold One Conversations Thursday morning. So make sure you go subscribe to that. Put the bell on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcasts. Go check that out because that'll be coming a full NFL recap because, man, I think the only real game that wasn't within 3 points or a touchdown was the Ravens-Jets game. Everything else, the witching hour, were insane. Overtimes, missed field goals, going for 2, kickers. Oh, don't even get me started about the kickers. Wide receivers making plays left and right. I mean, it was a crazy first week of the NFL. I'm sure we'll have clunkers moving forward, but we'll be here to cover it all, and it's going to be so much fun. And the Phillies are making a playoff run too. So make sure you subscribe also to the BSP Podcast here too. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, at Brendan Petrilli, at BSP Podcast on Twitter. Shout out to the 215. Go Birds, baby. Go Birds. Let's go. 1-0.